How you guys doing today? Let's get some first impressions on this Kizer knife I just got in. This is, of course, they don't really have any real model numbers for their knives, or at least not that I can really find. They're usually referred to their model number, so here we go. Blade HQ does call this one the Tomcat, so I don't know what that means. If it's really called the Tomcat, or maybe Blade HQ is just calling it Tomcat. I don't know, but let's get a look at this. So it comes in this bag, Kizer labeled bag, kind of nice. Also had some screws in there, there you go, which is nice. Because I can't count how many times pocket clip screws get stripped out. You know, knives will come to me for anodizing work and they're already a little bit wobbly in the hole. And they just strip out the rest of the way or whatever. It's just nice to have a backup set when you get those tiny little, like, looks about like a T5 to me. Hadn't had this one apart. This is in for some anodizing work. But before I touched it, I thought we'd get some first impressions on this. You can see, me personally, and of course the owner of this knife, you know, again, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. This is a little bit too funky, ano. It is a titanium frame lock. So we're going to redo that. You'll see that on another video. I just wanted to showcase this knife just as it comes. So if you're interested in this knife, it is Kizer. Manufacturer will be made in China. There it was, Tomcat. So it really is the Tomcat model. And then they actually have the numbers there. So this is S35 VN blade steel. It came very sharp. I don't know how used it was before I got it. It doesn't look very used at all. I didn't see any dents or dings in the edge. So I'll let you know how that goes. I'm going to have to take the bullet, bite the bullet. I was going to say, take the hit, bite the bullet, take the bullet. I guess that still works, huh? Bite the bullet and buy one of these Kizer knives to carry and use for a month or two. And see what my opinion is on the actual build quality after beating them up for a little bit and the blade steel. I can tell you this, being this is the first impression, and I've already worked on a couple of these by now, very impressive build quality. I've got my good camera out, hopefully will show a little better. I know the sound, I'm going to have to figure out how to take the sound dampening down, because whenever I lock the knife, usually it'll cut the audio out. It's trying so it doesn't beat your ears up, you know, with the locking sound. But anyways, this is our good, what is this, a Sony? Oh, JVC. It's nice. I mean, the blade's centered. Thicker blade stock, not too thick. Very beautiful design. This looks really Anzo-ish to me. I don't think they credited Anzo, and this doesn't look like an Anzo model that I'm aware of, but it just has his kind of funkier, curvy style. I really like it. How that swedge kind of comes up here. Got some mosquitoes on my arms. I really like these daylight videos. See, the swedge is nice and even. All the grinds are on. That's why I'm making this video. Anybody who's interested, I don't just want to show super high-end stuff, even though this runs around $130 or so from Blade HQ. Titanium on both sides. You do have a very nice engagement for your lockup there. I haven't had it apart yet, but it does look like it's sitting on bronze phosphor washers. Can you see them in there? There you go. There was no stick. You can fire it off the stud or the flipper. And what I was trying to get to, with this daylight in this camera, you can see the ceramic detent in there perfectly. Again, good stuff. Flat ground, has a lot of cutting edge to handle. So again, I feel like I repeat myself a lot sometimes, but anytime you can bring this cutting edge as close as you can to that pivot to the front of this handle, you're going to get almost a 50 50, which means a 50% handle, 50% cutting edge. Now there's a lot of knives, and even a lot of knives that I really like that don't have that, so that's not always, you know, something I always look for, but it is nice when you see it. Here's the very classic Delica. You can see how you get this little cutting edge for this much handle, and it's because you've got this whole ricasso area without a blade edge, which, you know, just something to keep in mind if you're interested in this knife. I won't go on and on about that. We'll keep this about this knife. Flat ground, thickish blade, very nicely done. Look at the studs. Have like this jimped style, kind of rounded and crowned. They're very comfortable. You know, just nice. All the blade grinds are on. I'm sure that's all CNC done. There's no hand tuning. I mean, there might be when they do the final assembly on the knives. The stone wash is really well done. We're getting a little bit of wash. See, it's almost like a semi-satin with a nice fine stone wash on there. You can see the pocket where it's milled out, where you could do the clip over here to do tip up. There is no left-hand carry option. There's a lanyard hole. Your standoffs. This is a flow-through construction, obviously. If we can get it to focus, you can see your standoffs are milled out. And this does have the type of construction I like. It has the male pivot going into the female standoff, and then another male on the other side making a sandwich. You're seeing some knives nowadays, especially the cheaper ones, and some of these even mid-techs, that run in the screw all the way through, and then it threads into the threaded titanium. What's wrong with that? Well, titanium is a little bit soft, right? So it's not going to hold a screw thread that well. I'm not saying you can't do it that way. There's plenty of custom makers who still do it that way. But my preferred method is right here. You don't want to tap titanium if you don't have to. Obviously for your screws. And that's an even smaller thread size. But for the main construction of the knife, I like to see this sandwich style right here. You know, it's just how I like to see things. Doesn't mean it's the right or wrong or whatever. Just pointing it out. They didn't cut corners on that. You can see the Hinder over travel disc on there. I'm not sure, being this was made in China, if that's licensed or not. I didn't read it. All the cuts for the lock bar, everything's nice. All the texture on the handle is very nice and custom looking. Again, that's CNC done for sure. But it's cool looking. When I'm done with it, it's going to be real cool looking. I'll let you know. This looks like they anodized it blue and then dripped some like acid on it to acid wash that color in there. Which you could do that. I could dilute some of my multi-etch and then kind of drip it over here, and you kind of get that. Drip it over it, wait about 5 seconds, and then rinse it back off, and you would get that kind of weird looking effect right there. Again though, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Some people may love this, you know, that's taste. It's a cool knife. Packs a lot of edge length, blade's nice and centered. There's no wiggle. I mean, it's nice. It fits your hand really nice. I don't see any hot spots. If you're looking for jimping, you're jimping. Not effective. This is just for looks pretty much, and maybe for an indexing point. You see how it's round. It's pretty much flush with the handle. That's not a bad thing in my eyes, though. I hadn't had this apart, but if this is constructed like the other Kizer knives I've worked on, this pivot does have a flat D part for the top, so this smooth side does not spin around. And also, if it's constructed like the last Kizer pivot, I had to actually custom make a little bit. Just take a flat screwdriver bit and then grind it down a little bit, because this is kind of slim to fit in here. And then a straight screwdriver will fit that. but I had to thin it out a little. So it's nice. Just figured I'd give you some impressions, some other options. Some people are very, very against stuff being made in China. Some people say they're against it, and then they buy a knife that had all of its parts cut in China and then assembled somewhere else and then sold for $1,000, and that's cool with them. So I don't know where you're sitting on that scale. There's all over. That's kind of the, I wouldn't say the hard thing to make a video like this, but it is a fact. You know, some people can't get over it. Some people can and just say, wow, $130, that's an incredible value. Especially when you consider S35 VN blade steel. You know, now how good is the heat treat and all that? I hadn't carried it and used one, but a lot of my friends have had them and say that they have been really happy with the performance of them. So whatever that means, you know, they're not new to the knife collecting hobby. They've been around as long as I have or longer, most of them that I've talked to on this. So whatever that means to you, I think it's well worth $130. Really. That's what it is at the end of the day. I think it's worth that. You know, you're going to have to decide for yourself. Let's just get a quick size comparison. While I already had it out, was the Delica. So you can see it's a larger knife. It's about 4.5 ounces or so. You can see some size while we have it out. Ooh, doing the review on this one next. Super excited. An actual review, not the impressions, on this ZT450. I've carried and used this a lot. Love it. You can see the size on that. Here is a small Sebenza while I have it here. And one more. What I think it... And as far as size, this is more of the comparison. What? Look at the blade, the cutting edge shape. Flat ground pretty much. I know the 25 is not flat ground per Chris Reeve, but I'm telling you, damn if I could tell if it's hollow ground. It has to be such a wide hollow ground blade. To me it seems flat. I believe them. I mean, I seen the special jig on the Blade HQ Meet Your Maker where they were showing this is hollow ground. But anyways, check out. The cutting edge is about the same, right? Blade thickness are right about the same. It might even be a little bit thicker. Of course, you're not going to get that attention to detail, all your chamfering up here. That'll be for another video. You're not going to get your rounded spine. You know, I want to make a video on, because I get it all the time, why would I ever spend over $150 for a knife for use? You know, our Sebenza is worth it. And then you get some people say, well, Sebenza is only $350. And I say only. If you're new to knives, yep, only. You can get the best knife in the world, in my opinion, one of them, for $350. Right. Now, why would you ever spend that? Or over this? How about over that? So some of these custom knives I've been showing you, or I'm going to show you, if I haven't already. I don't know how I'm going to upload the videos. They get into well over $1,000, sometimes well over $2,000, sometimes over $3,000. You know, why would you ever do that? Well, that'll be for another video. But anyways, I always get sidetracked. Kizer. That clip looks like it could be a hot spot. I'm not sure. Looks like it sticks out a little too much there. Maybe I'll customize that for my friends here before we ship it back. It'd be nice to see a bent clip, kind of like a cold steel clip that followed the frame a little more. It is titanium. You can see how it's blue anodized there. But there you go. Thanks a lot for checking the video out. You can see the... trying to wrap it up, and I'm still seeing more stuff. You can see the cutout is on the outside. Again, if you watch my videos, you know all about it. Transfers the energy straight down. More for hard use, or so the theory goes. That's it. Have a good one. This is the Kizer Tomcat. No crazy chamfering around the frame. No chamfering on the inside that I can see. But it is a heck of a knife. It's a rounded, so it's no hot spots really that I can see. Maybe that clip a little way up top there. But I don't know. I hadn't used it. I don't really feel it when I do it like this. My hand kind of cups right there. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you on the next video. Let's go out on an anodizing and carved frame shot. Bam. See ya.